In some parts of the U.S., it's possible to buy a gun over the counter in a supermarket. What the?
I'm going to run down to the Piggly Wiggly and pick me up a AR-15.
Pistols, prayer, and potluck. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hey folks, welcome to Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I'm your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, and this is episode number 329. Thank you so much for making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week again this week, and welcome aboard for those of you who are new. Glad to have you here. Hope you enjoy what you hear, and we'll come back for more next week. Maybe peruse our extensive library of audio content that goes back 7 years now. It is awesome to be with you again this week. You can probably hear in my voice a little bit of a little froggy, nasally thing going on. It is volleyball season, which means we have been out to volleyball matches across the area where we live here in North Texas, and I have brought home some sort of crud, which slowed me down quite a bit this week, but feeling better today. Still got a little bit of a nasally something going on, for which I apologize profusely. Today we have a variety show for you. It's which, for those of you who are new and don't know what the heck that means, we have content from the entire cast, including Mia Anstein, Sergeant Bill Sylvia, and Pastor John Bennett. Before we get to that, though, I do want to remind everyone that this episode is brought to you by the Reformation Gun Club, the awesome men and women who make this show happen through their monthly and annual contributions. And this week, I want to thank Ron from Lexington Park, Maryland, JJ from Toms River, New Jersey, Jason from Medina, Ohio, Peter from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, Jerry and Billy from Deer Lodge, Montana, John Nielsen, Robert from Bothell, Washington, Mike from Hiram, Georgia, and Jeff from Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin. Thank you all so much for your support, and thank you to all of the members of the Reformation Gun Club for helping to make this show possible. August came and went. Another successful year of folks renewing their memberships, and I really, really do appreciate that. There's more than 50% of the membership renews in August, so there's a little bit of crossing your fingers and holding on with bated breath and hoping that folks still consider the show important enough to continue to support financially, and we're very grateful and honored to have so many members supporting the show. Thank you all so much for that. If you would like to find out more about the Reformation Gun Club, folks, if you would like to support the show or just get an idea of what this membership thing is all about and what the benefits are, we have an awesome website with hundreds of hours of exclusive content. We release new content. I try to release new content for the members every week. Haven't done that in a couple of weeks, though, and I've been remiss at doing that. You get early access to the show. I try to release the show at least a day early, if not two. And you get invitations to our monthly online hangouts, which are always a lot of fun. And so we've got another one coming up here soon. I'm going to be announcing that next week. So check it out, armedlutheran.us/gun club, or look for a link in the show notes for this or any of our previous episodes. You can come and be a member and take part in all of this and help support the show for as little as $15.17 per year. All right, quick announcement. Before we get right into the content, I do want to remind everyone the second edition of Duty to Defend coming in December. It's available for pre-order. Go to the website, to the store under books, or go to armedlutheran.us/duty, DUTY. and pre-order your copy today. The book is not just a slight revision. This book is now twice as long as the first book. We have 12 chapters and 7 new pastors, plus lots of new content, lots of new features in the book that I think you will enjoy. It is and an awesome new cover, which you'll see on the website if you go and visit the front page of the website. Look over in the right-hand side in the menu bar there, and really excited about it. And I've got almost all of the editing done, and some preliminary copies will hopefully be going out in October, maybe November, for folks to review, and then the book will be available and will start shipping in December. So I'm really excited about that. Go check that out, armedlutheran.us/duty, and pre-order your copy today. All right, as I said, this week is a variety show. We've got content from the entire cast. Mia Anstein, Sergeant Bill Sylvia, and Pastor John Bennett are coming up. This week, it's Ask the Armed Lutherans. And normally, when we do this, we take a question from the audience. But this week, we're doing it a little bit different. We're taking a question from the cast, namely Miss Mia Anstein herself. She posted a question in the Fans of Armed Lutheran Facebook group, and she wanted to know what everyone's thoughts were on what features are important to you in choosing a carry gun. So today, I've posed that question to the cast, including Mia herself. What is your carry gun and why? And what features and factors went into the choice of those firearms? Now, for me, real quick, I'll get this out of the way to start off with. The factor I chose was size. It has to be easy to carry, or I find that I just won't do it. Like many, if not all concealed carriers, I can't imagine that anyone has made a decision about what their carry gun would be, what their carry method would be, and stuck with it their entire life. Most people, myself included, change their minds over time. As a noob, I was the biggest gun with the biggest caliber you can carry guy, with 3 extra magazines thrown in. And as you can imagine, that doesn't last long. So then I slimmed down, not me personally, my carry gear, and I got in on the thin single stack striker fired game for a while. And then I switched to the smallest gun with the highest capacity that you can comfortably carry, that whole state of mind thing. These are all memes. If you throughout if you go back far enough, there's all these different ideas of this is the way you need to carry. And I've been through most of them at this point. Then my lifestyle changed, and I began working from home every day, and then COVID hit, and my carry considerations changed again. For me now, the most important factor is size and ease of carry. Now, within reason, there are certain guns that would be super easy to carry because they're super small and super concealable, but I wouldn't trust them with my life, right? I wouldn't carry a Lorsen or a Raven, for example, or a Jimenez. What is that one? Jimenez, the Ring of Fire guns. I wouldn't trust those things. So they're super tiny. Wouldn't carry them. And there are smaller guns than the ones that I carry now. I've owned a couple, and I wouldn't carry them because despite their size, despite their compact form factor, they're still kind of heavy because they're made out of steel. I'm thinking of like the Guardian 38s, or there was another one that was kind of a little teensy-weensy Desert Eagle looking thing. I can't remember what that was. I never owned that when I shot it, but it's super small, but it's also super heavy. So I live in Texas, and during the summer it's 1,000 degrees, so that factors into my decision as well. I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt most days, so that limits my options, obviously. Yes, I can open carry here in Texas, but I'm not going to do it because I think it's stupid. And interestingly enough, despite all the hoopla in Texas and all of the rigmarole that happened in passing open carry here in Texas, I have yet to see a single person open carrying in the years since that passed. Not a single person. I don't carry at home. Again, comfort is important. I'm in an office working in front of a computer all day. We live in a safe rural community north of the Metroplex. And I know it's growing, so that's changing. So my thinking on that may change over time, but I keep something close by. But I don't have it on my person all the time. My travel these days is limited to basically my daughter's school or volleyball games at other schools where it's illegal to carry, running to the gas station, post office, or grocery store, which are all within about 5 miles, or to church, which is about 14 miles away. And that's pretty much it at the moment. So the most important factor for me is size and ease of carry. I guess that's 2 factors, isn't it? For a quick trip to the post office or the grocery store during the summer, a Ruger LCP in a pocket holster does the job perfectly. For church, especially during the summer when I'm not wearing a jacket, the LCP is perfect. Slip it into the pocket, into my front pocket, and you can't, unless you're looking really closely, you can't tell that I'm carrying. When the weather cools and the shorts are gone, I'll start to slip into something else. I'll slip in an appendix holster with my Smith & Wesson 642 under an untucked shirt, and I'm out the door. Both are easy to conceal, they're comfortable to carry, and I can put them on and take them off quickly and be on my way in a jiffy. The advantage of both of those systems of carry is if I do have to go somewhere that restricts my rights, my ability to carry, like a post office or like a school, both of those methods of carry make it very easy to remove the gun inconspicuously while I'm sitting in the front seat of my car, secure the gun, and then go and do what I need to do and come back. So if I'm traveling, which doesn't happen a lot, but if I'm traveling with my family, especially places I'm not familiar, and during the winter when it's cooler and I can wear a jacket to out and about or to church, I'll carry something bigger. But for me, smaller is better. Are those guns fun to shoot? No, absolutely not. And I know that and I accept that. Everything in concealed carry is a compromise. Smaller guns are easier to carry and conceal, but they're harder to shoot and they've got limited capacity. Higher capacity guns, even the new breed, the amazing new guns, those micro compacts that are higher capacity, like the SIG P365 or the Taurus GX4 or the Shield Max or the Ruger Max 9, they all have their compromises. They're still harder to carry because I have to I have to put them on, and they're harder to take off. Even though they're small, there's still a little bit of a compromise there that at this point in my life I'm not willing to make. For you, you just have to find that compromise that fits your body and your lifestyle. It's all a matter of figuring out what works best for you, choosing a firearm that works well in those situations, and one that you are proficient with, understand how to use, and can shoot. that's how I decided on my carry options. Those are the factors that are important to me. I would love to hear your thoughts. We would love to hear from you. Visit the feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback. Tell us about your concealed carry journey and the factors that went into choosing your carry gun and your method of carry. We would love to hear from you. All right, it's time for me to shut up and step aside and let you hear from the rest of our amazing cast. Sit back and enjoy the rest of the show. And I will talk to you again next week in episode 330.
Time now for Mia's Motivations with Mia Anstein.
Hey guys, it's Mia Anstein here. Today I am answering a question that I had posed in a couple of groups on social media. I was working on an article, and generally when I'm working on an article, I like to get thoughts and opinions from other people. So I posed this question in the group, a couple groups, and today I'm going to be answering the question from my perspective because I have experience, but it's quite different from other people. So today I am going to talk about concealed carry guns, specifically the concealed carry guns that I carry and why I carry them. So I have several concealed carry guns. I have multiple because different guns feel different in your hand. And then also it depends on what outfit I'm wearing or what ammunition may be available. And some of those are thoughts that people had given in answer on those forums. I'll preface by saying that all of these guns are hammer fired unless I tell you, and actually all of these ones are hammer fired. They're not in order of any preference. We'll let you know which ones I like better or not, but they're just in order of how I was writing them down today. And I do have a few others, but the list can get quite lengthy. So these are ones that I carry on a regular basis, and they're kind of my go-tos. The most recent purchase is a Kimber Micro 9, and that Kimber Micro 9, it has an external hammer. It also has a safety. And I know when I was asking about what people carry and why, some people wanted a safety, and a lot of these firearms have a trigger safety. So that, you're going to put your finger in there, depress it. You have to depress the safety before the trigger will pull. So just so you're aware, that Micro 9 has an external safety. I also have a Kimber Ultra Carry 2 compact, and that one is a 45 caliber. This Micro 9 is a 9mm. I personally really like larger calibers, and so the 9mm is a good size caliber. It can put some great damage on a target. I hunt a lot, and so we have to have calibers that are legal for hunting when we're out, if we're handgun hunting. And that's something that, if you're interested, I'll talk about on another day, handgun hunting. This Kimber Micro 9, I'm just going to measure it right quick here in my hand. It's 6 1/4 inches long, and that's to the back of the dovetail on the back strap. And then the height is 4 inches. The height with the magazine is about 4.5 inches. The width on this one, I really like. It's really slender. It's just about 1 inch wide. So it's really easy to conceal. Kimber Micro 9 is a beautiful shooter. I really like on a semi-automatic when it has a good spring and the slide is strong when it hits. And this Kimber Micro 9 is also stainless. So if I'm out hunting and it gets wet, the water is less likely to corrode that stainless gun. I really like those a lot. I also have a Remington RM380, and this little handgun is one that some people dislike because it has a very long trigger pull, and it's something that you must take to the range and you must practice with it because that trigger is challenging to get used to if you're used to like a competition gun, or my hunting rifle has really light trigger pull. When you have a concealed carry gun, that long trigger trigger pull, if you're in a scenario, you're not going to be thinking about how hard it is to pull that trigger. You're probably just going to be pulling the trigger. It is something to note. And I did actually years ago do a review on this RM380 on Arm Lutheran Radio. If we can find that episode, I'll have that in the show notes as well. It has a 6+1 capacity, so you can hold 7 rounds in that gun. It has an ambidextrous mag release, which is something that you may be interested in if you're a lefty. The magazine also has the pinky grip extender, so you can get your hand on there since this is a micro compact. The measurements, it weighs in at 12.2 ounces, so it's very light. It's 5.27 inches long and 3.86 inches tall, and then it's just under an inch wide. So it's very easy to conceal. It's really light. It has an anodized finish and in black, and then it has a nylon grip with checkering. That gun I carry, I have all kinds of different holsters. And for all of these guns, I use a variety. I have some tension holsters that go in your waistband for some of them. I have some polymer holsters, appendix carry, I back carry. I use some belly bands that I'm able to rotate and put the guns in different positions along my waist. I can raise them up or down depending on what outfit I'm wearing. I also have a Danae Adams carry shorts. So they kind of look like a biker short, and they have a holster in there where I can put my firearm in there. So all different places, but that RM380 is very easy to conceal because it's small. The next one I'm going to tell you about is very easy to carry as well. However, it's not my favorite because it's so small, and it's definitely a challenge. You have to practice a lot to keep your grip on that one, and it's the Ruger LC380. So that Remington and this one are 380 in caliber. That the LC380, it's so tiny. It holds 7+1. It has a little larger capacity than the RM380. The magazines are so tiny that your pinky and your ring finger kind of almost want to hang out on that one. You can use the magazine with the extender on there, and that does give you a little bit more to grip. But that one, the overall length is 6 inches. The height is 4.25 inches. And isn't that interesting? It's a taller and longer gun, but it's more challenging to grip than the Remington. And that is mainly because Remington did that extender grip on their magazines to begin with. It's not with that Ruger. It's kind of an option if you want to get that longer magazine. It comes with both, but if you can use either or. That LC380 also weighs 17.2 ounces. Not a big deal in the whole scheme of things. As I said, it's very thin, so it's easy to conceal. It has a black oxide finish. It's made of alloy steel, and it also has a checkered nylon grip. The next one that I'm going to go to is one that I carry almost all the time. I carry it quite regularly. It is the Sig Sauer P365. It's a 9mm. This one weighs 17.8 ounces. It has a 10+1 capacity. So this is an issue that I got a lot when people are answering my question, is they were really concerned about capacity. And I want to tell you, this is something that I don't think people always think of, but you only have to shoot to stop the threat against your life. So I'm not certain that you're going to need more than 2 or 3 rounds, depending if you're a good shot, depending how your adrenaline is going, depending on how much training you've had. That's going to vary. Me personally, I have always been a fight or flight person, and I look for flight before fight. So I have never been in a gunfight. I'm going to preface that, but I was raised in a way that I always situate myself that I can get to an exit. I look for my way out. I'm not looking to hear a gunshot and go to the fire. So that's something that if you haven't thought about that yet, you probably should take a minute and consider, what would you do? Is your plan to run into the fight? And I'm going to talk to you about a story about that with a friend that happened recently about that fight or flight, and you can decide whether you wanted to rush in, but stay tuned for that in a different episode. This P365, it has just the trigger safety. It has X-ray 3D night sights. And speaking of that, it has some of the best sights that come with the gun, in as opposed to a few of the others just have a tri-dot, 3 dots, line up the sight. The P365 has a carbon steel barrel, a stainless steel frame and slide, and it has a polymer grip with checkering on it. The grip feels really nice in my hand. I'm sure it feels different in different people's hands. But also, this one measures 5.8 inches long, 4.3 inches tall, and just over an inch wide. So it's a little thicker. It does have more rounds. So the way those are stagger stacked in the magazine, it does add a little width to the gun. It is one that is not quite as easy to conceal as, say, the Remington or the Ruger in the 380. It's very similar in size to that Kimber Micro 9. A difference for me is that Micro 9 has the external hammer. It has an external safety. I always have to practice with that external safety because when I'm practicing a lot with firearms that have the trigger safety, I sometimes forget about that external safety. There is another gun I tried recently, and that's a Staccato, and they came out with a Micro 9. It hasn't yet hit the stores, so it's not out there for you to purchase quite yet, but that gun is such a smooth shooter. But again, external hammer, external safety. And if that's important to you to have that safety, then look at those. Micro 9 by Kimber or the Concealed Carry 9 by Staccato is a great gun. So the last one that I'm going to mention is, bar none, my favorite. I love wheel guns. And so all of these that I've been talking about so far are semi-automatic. This one here is the Kimber K6S. S stands for stainless. And I love this gun. It's chambered in a 357 Magnum. It weighs 23 ounces, so it's a little on the heavy side, but this is a bomb-proof gun. I just cannot tell you how much I like this gun. The length is 6.62 inches. The height is 4.46 inches. So it's similar in size to that Kimber Micro 9 and the SIG P365 that I mentioned. The cylinder on this revolver holds 6. So a lot of the comparable revolvers to this one, they only hold 5. This one does hold 6. So you've got 6 rounds. And if you want to be in a gunfight, get 2. I actually have 2. You can shoot a revolver really well. Something that I love about this 357 is the trigger. It has a ball bearing system in the trigger, and it just, to me, feels great. I have had some friends shoot it that don't like the feel of that, but I love the buttery feel of that trigger. This one, again, does not have a safety. It is stainless steel. I love the stainless steel, as I mentioned, because I'm outdoors a lot and in the rain and weather, and I won't have to worry so much about corrosion. Mine does have a rubber grip, and with the Kimber logo on there, it feels very good in my hand. With this revolver, you can shoot so easy. It's just wonderful. It has low profile sights that are dovetailed into the frame, and you can adjust the windage on that. That revolver is a double action revolver. It does not have an external hammer. It does not have a single action capability with that. I will say that I like that revolver if I'm ever having to purse carry, because men or women, I guess men, you could carry this in your computer bag or satchel or whatever. But when I'm purse carrying, we actually trained at Gunsight and how to draw from the purse and shoot, but also how to shoot through a purse. So this Kimber K6S would be ideal because of the hammer system in there is not going to get hung up on anything. You don't have to worry about a malfunction of a slide or anything else. If you haven't been training with your concealed carry, I highly suggest that. With the training that I have done, one other thing that I highly suggest is for you to practice safely unloading your firearm completely and practice drawing and dry firing your concealed carry gun. That's something that you have to practice in all weather conditions with all your outfits. Please be safe, though, and make sure that you're unloaded before you draw and dry fire. If you'll look back in past episodes as well, I shared a story about a friend who had a tragic experience in his dry fire process. So hopefully you all will be safe out there, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Have a great one. Bye, guys.
You can read more from Mia, watch her YouTube videos, or check out her podcast, Mac Outdoors with Mia and Leah, at miaanstein.com. Time now for another Ballistic Minute with Sergeant Bill Sylvia.
Hey everybody, I'm Sergeant Bill, and this is your Ballistic Minute. Today, I was asked to talk about carry guns. Okay, so for me, carry guns are very simple. I try to carry whatever caliber is the easiest to get ammo for, that performs well, that I can shoot well and shoot fast. So for most people, that really boils down to either 9mm, 40, or 45. They're all perfectly fine. I personally carry 9mm because it's plentiful, and that's also what I'm carrying on duty on my police department. The second major decision, in my opinion, you need to make is what type of gun do you want to carry and how do you want to carry it? You should probably decide how you want to carry first, really, but most people do it the other order. So if you decide how you want to carry, whether it's going to be hopefully not open carry, which I think is kind of ridiculous, even though I open carry professionally, but yeah, that's because that's part of the job. I never open carry anywhere, even when I'm out and about in my house. If I'm carrying, then I'm still concealed. So if you're like me and you're going to carry concealed, how are you going to carry it? You're going to carry it on the hip, inside the waistband, right on the hip or behind the hip? Or you're going to carry it small in the back? You're going to carry it cross draw? You're going to carry appendix carry? Is that appendix carry going to be off to the side, or is it going to be right in the middle? You got a lot of choices. What it really boils down for me is, through a lot of trial and error, and most people that carry concealed have that box or drawer full of holsters, and you really can eliminate a lot of wasteful spending and trial and error on holsters if you can find somebody who has all those holsters and try out some of their mistakes. Just try them out and see what feels comfortable or what works. Most holsters in carry positions have not always been real comfortable to carry. You just sort of get used to them. I actually carry appendix now. I've been doing that for the last probably 2 or 3 years now. And I find it's easy to, A, conceal, B, carry more than a small little gun. And some of my holsters even have a mag carrier on it as well that's attached to it. So you got to decide where you're going to carry. For me, it's appendix. I used to carry behind the hip, strong side, in the waistband, and that was okay for a while. And after probably a dozen years or so, I started having a little bit of back problems just from that pressure. You sit a little different, you sit in the car a little different, and it just caused a little pressure on your waist and on your back. So I started moving the gun forward, getting it more like on the side. For me, being a lefty, is 9 o'clock, as opposed to 3 o'clock if you look at your waist as a clock looking down. And that worked okay, but the gun started printing too much for me, so I went back and forth trying different appendix type stuff, different appendix holsters. And like I said before, you should really research it, ask around people you know that carry that way. I used to think appendix was just for the skinny guys and girls, and it's not. I'm not real skinny, not even close. And I carry appendix, and it's comfortable, and it's one of those things where you have to get a good holster with good features, and you have to adjust your wardrobe, really, first of all, for carrying in the waistband. You'll have to have pants or shorts or whatever you're wearing this season that are a couple inches over your regular size. This allows you a little bit more space for the gun and holster and mag carrier, or however you're going to end up carrying. Okay, so back to my decisions. Like I said, I carry appendix, and I don't really like small guns. I've never shot them very well. They're not very comfortable to shoot. I like something I can get a full firing grip on. So really that boils down to a Glock 19 size grip and or gun, or bigger. My department, I carry a Glock 17, so I carry a Glock 19 and sometimes a 17 concealed carry. Sometimes I've got a little small light on it. I'm actually probably going to start carrying with a TLR-1 weapon light attached to it, because that's what my duty gun's going to be. And we're actually currently transitioning to red dots on our Glocks at work. So I carry a Glock 19 with a red dot on it, but want to keep it kind of similar, and I'd like to maybe carry my Glock 17, my work gun, sometimes too. So it'll be a 17 or a 19 with an RMR and a TLR-1. Like I said before, I've had a bunch of holsters over the years. I've really boiled them down to the features that I want, not so much the maker. I really like Tier 1 concealed holsters. They make fantastic holsters. I've got a couple of theirs, and they're outstanding. They have great features, which include the belt claw, which actually helps tuck the butt of the gun in towards your body so it doesn't print, because that's where it prints the most. And you can get their foam wedges, which stick to the inside of the holster on the back side, the body side, down at the bottom, and will actually push the muzzle of the gun away, also tucking the rear of the gun and the grip into your body, which aids greatly in concealment. Not only does it do that, but that foam wedge in appendix helps with the comfort of the holster. Like, so if you sit down, you're driving or anything like that, you know, everybody thinks, oh, that holster's sticking into my junk. Well, I have that foam pad on the back of it, and it really makes a huge difference comfort-wise. And I usually carry appendix almost dead center line. To me, it's a little bit off center line to my strong hand side. Mostly because I started carrying it that way because I was carrying with a sidecar or an attached magazine carrier. And it just depends on the size of the holster and the clothes you wear. So my normal everyday attire is, in the summer in Texas, a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. And with a good belt, Reed gun belt, I have a nice rigid nylon with a plastic liner belt. It's actually got I can't think of the name of it, but it's got a click adjustment and a really small buckle so that you can actually move it off to the side and or straddle with the clips on the holster. So with that belt claw and that foam wedge, those are, in my opinion, must-haves for appendix. Actually, I think they're really must-haves if you're carrying on the hip or behind the hip in the waistband as well. I see a lot of holsters that have a single clip. I don't really like those, even the big wide ones, because the gun kind of bounces around a little bit. It kind of teeter-totters. I like the holsters that have two clips. Years ago, I didn't like the clips that, you know, would go over your belt. They had the little edge you could pull up and pull on and off real easy. I like the snap loops. The snap loops are a lot more secure, but a lot more companies have come out with the easy on-off belt loop, you know, over the belt loop style that work really well. I've had several holsters that have those, and I really like them. So Glock 19 with an RMR. I have aftermarket suppressor height sights because I use iron sights as a backup, just like you would on a rifle. If the dot goes down, I can always shoot with iron sights. And I don't always have a weapon light on it. I'm going to change that here pretty soon. But I always carry a pocket flashlight. Now, even when I have a weapon light on my carry gun, I'm still going to carry a pocket flashlight because it's super useful. I don't always carry the magazine in the waistband. I actually have a really nice inside the pocket magazine pouch that's got, you know, kind of the sticky deal on it to where it sticks in your pocket. You can reach in, grab the magazine, and pull it out. It's really nice because I can carry a full size or an extended magazine for that Glock 19. And it's out of the way. It's not in my waistband. It's not sticking me. It's not sliding around in different spots. It's always in the same spot. I can put other stuff in that pocket as well. And it doesn't print through the pocket, and it works, and it's simple. Now the big question is, when do I carry? Or when should you carry? There's different rules for when you can carry in different states and where you can carry. I'm law enforcement in the state of Texas, so the rules are not the same for me as it is for most people. I carry pretty much everywhere. And what I'd suggest is, if you're going to carry, carry all the time. Just make it part of your day. You put your watch on, you put your phone in your pocket, put your wallet in your pocket, put your keys in your pocket, put your gun on. Done deal. It's part of your everyday equipment. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Now, on occasion, I'll carry a smaller pocket pistol, like a Kel-Tec 3AT, which is a little 380 single stack. I think it's 6 or 7 shot magazine in a pocket holster with an extra mag. Now that's rare. That's if I'm going to, go play a round of golf or something where it'd be kind of weird to have an untucked shirt and be pulling a gun and holster and shoving it in my golf bag and then pulling it out at the end of a round. If I know I'm just going to the golf course and back home, I still am going to carry, but I'm going to carry that smaller backup gun, which that really is, it's a copy of the backup gun that I carry at work. Now, since I brought up backup guns, some people will say, "Hey, Sarge, do you carry a backup gun?" Yes, at work, because I'm open carrying a gun. And if somebody decides they want to try to take my gun, guess what? I got backup. Now, in an everyday situation, not at work, I'm carrying concealed. You don't know I've got it. So I don't need that backup, because something arises, most people are going to be extremely surprised when my pistol comes out, as opposed to in a police uniform and it comes out because it's there and everybody can see it. Okay, so to recap, pick a gun that you like, and I would suggest something that is easy to shoot, easy to carry, extremely reliable. Doesn't have to be a Glock. You can get a CZ or whatever, but it needs to be something that's going to go bang and do what you need it to do every time. Second, decide how you're going to carry it, where you're going to put that holster. Third, don't skimp on buying a good holster. You could get a Uncle Mike's $20 nylon holster, and will it do the job? Sorta. Will it do it well? No. You could spend between $100 and $200 on a really high-end holster, tier 1 concealment or something like that, and you will be amazed at how well it works, how comfortable it is, and it'll be well worth the money if you're going to carry every day. So if you're going to carry a gun, get something that's worth the money and works, and then do the same thing with the holster and your weapon light and or a red dot or any of the stuff you may add to it. And then get some training and get lots of practice. Dry fire is the cheapest practice you can get, and it works. Lastly, I'd say get educated. Know where you can carry, where you can't. Get some training. Look up the local laws. If you travel a lot, get some reading in and learn what you can do, where you have reciprocity and all that kind of stuff, and be smart about it. Do the right thing. Take care of yourself. Practice, train, and be safe. I'm Sergeant Bill. This has been your Ballistic Minute.
Sergeant Bill Sylvia is a veteran of the Dallas Police Force and a masterclass competitive shooter. You can check out his YouTube videos at armedlutheran.us/Sergeant Bill. It's time for Pastoral Pontifications with Pastor John Bennett.
Hello folks, this is the Pistol Packing Padre, Pastor John Bennett, and today we're answering a question. What gun or guns do you carry, when, where, and why? And what are the features that you look for in a carry gun? For me, as is often the case with anyone who's gone through the journey of becoming a permit holder and carrying a firearm, it's been a long journey. I started out at the beginning, I am a self-admitted, self-confessed 1911 fanboy. Now, I was in love with a 1911 before I'd ever shot one, before I'd ever owned one, before I had owned any firearms whatsoever. So the very first firearm that I purchased was a full-size Springfield Armory 1911 in 45. It was a great gun. It shot well. I love the way it felt in my hands, but it was perhaps the most impractical carry firearm that a person can own. It's just too dang big. Now, if you're going open carry, fine. It's still a lot of weight on the hip, but it's an excellent firearm, but it doesn't conceal very easily. And if you're a big guy like me with a few extra pounds around the middle, it's uncomfortable to carry. Well, from there I realized within a few weeks that this just wasn't going to do, and I graduated to another 1911. I couldn't get off the bandwagon, at least not yet. And so I ended up trading that for a lightweight Colt. It was the commander size, so 3/4 of an inch shorter in the barrel. It was a lot lighter with that alloy frame, but still over time it just was not a practical carry gun. Not only was it a little too big, but it also wasn't the most reliable. I never was able to get that firearm to function reliably. A lot of the problems were with the magazines, but even then, trying various magazines, even high-end magazines, it still just wouldn't run right. What was really the last straw and really changed my entire mentality about a concealed carry firearm is that one day, as I'm just doing some plinking in the backyard, I go to pull the trigger and nothing happened because I forgot to drop the safety. I'd shot many rounds through this firearm, somewhere north of 300 to 500 rounds. I know that's not a high round count for some competition shooters, but for me, just the average guy, that's getting up there. And if I realized that while I'm just plinking in my backyard, I forget to drop the safety, what's going to happen if heaven forbid, I'm under a high stress situation of where I have to draw my firearm and use it in self-defense or in defense of others. That split second of realizing that, oh, hey, I forgot to drop my safety might be the difference between life and death. And so from there, I began the pursuit of finding a different firearm for concealed carry. I have been all over the place when it comes to a carry firearm. I've carried a Car PM9. I ended up selling that at one point, and later on I bought a Car CM9, which is basically the same firearm, just the CM9 doesn't have quite the fine finishing touches that they put on the more expensive PM9. That was, not a bad gun. The thing that I didn't care for after a while and made me switch was it is a true double action only handgun. There's an internal hammer, and as you pull that trigger, it does the action of both cocking that hammer and dropping it. But the trigger is very smooth. And to the credit of this little firearm, pocket-sized pistols, mouse guns as they're sometimes called, often aren't the most reliable in the world. If you aren't, really gripping them tightly, a lot of them will jam. Well, not this one. I tried to get that firearm to malfunction by limp wristing the heck out of that thing, where I was barely holding onto the darn thing and pulling the trigger. And no matter what, it fired every time. Very reliable. But when it came down to it, I just didn't care for that long double action trigger. And from there, I ended up moving on towards striker fired pistols. At one point, I carried a XD45. I believe it was either a service or a compact model. That was probably 10 years ago or more. And I love striker fired pistols. It has a nice crisp trigger. It's about as close as you can get to, a 1911 style trigger, that very crisp action. But again, that one was a little bit too big to conceal. And really what I've settled on, because I want to go for the best of both worlds, I want comfort and I want reliability and decent caliber, decent round count, or decent capacity, I should say, in the magazine. And so I went from there to a Springfield XDS. It was a pretty nice gun. It shot well, but after a while, there were numerous reports of significant failures with them, and so I decided from there to switch to a Glock. I've been carrying a Glock 43 for a number of years now. I have it with, there's a company called Mag Guts. They make a kit that replaces the base pad, spring, and follower, and it bumps the capacity up to 8 and adds at the most a 1/4 inch of length to the magazine, and it's contoured to the shape of the grip, so it works great. I get 8+1. It's a Glock. It shoots. It goes bang every time I pull the trigger, as long as I'm doing a good job of maintaining it. Now, when it comes to features that I look for in a concealed carry firearm, and a lot of this goes back to that one time blinking with that 1911 and forgetting to drop that thumb safety, I look for something that is preferably striker fired. If it's a double action, single action type of handgun, I think of the Beretta Cheetah that I recently purchased for my wife. That's all right too. I want something that does not have a manual safety that is engaged while carrying it. For me, a striker fire is perfect for that. The only safety I need is my finger, and making sure that I'm not putting, as I tell my kids, I'm keeping my booger finger off the bang switch until I have to fire. I want something that is easily concealable. Now, I have been thinking about the idea of switching to something that has a bit more capacity. I am considering switching to a Glock 43X. There's a company, Shield Arms, makes a 15-round flush-fitting magazine for that. So you get something that's a 1/2 inch longer grip than the Glock 43, but you get 15 rounds. You get the same capacity that you would with the stock Glock 19. So what I'm looking for something that's, number one, it is reliable. Of course, you don't want anything to be your carry firearm, something that you are relying upon to defend your life, to be used, God forbid if you're ever faced with a lethal threat from an attacker. You want something that's going to go bang every time. The other features that I'm looking for is something that I can shoot well and that fits my hands. I've got big hands. That's one of the things that really made me shy away from some of the other small compact firearms I've carried in the past. The Ruger LCP was another one that I owned years back, and that is the most god-awful concealed carry firearm I have ever shot. It is so unpleasant to shoot. Now, some people don't mind that, but to me, for my big hands, trying to fit that tiny little thing in my big hands, it was so unpleasant to shoot that I just didn't feel like practicing with it. That's one of the other things that you have to consider as well. That if it's so unpleasant to shoot that you're not going to practice with it, you're never going to become proficient with it. One of the other problems I had with the Car PM9 and CM9 is that the distance from the back of the grip to the trigger was so slight, so short, that for my big hands it was uncomfortable to shoot. Basically, I had to put the first joint of my trigger finger on the trigger, and that was the most comfortable way to shoot. But it's difficult to have accuracy to not be jerking the trigger, pulling the trigger improperly, and getting accurate shots. So the Glock 43, I love it. The one last note that I'll leave you with, two notes really. When you're looking for a concealed carry firearm, if the option is available, see if you can borrow one from a friend, or if there is a range that rents them, to shoot before you put down the money and buy something. I'm sure just about every gun guy and gal out there has gone through buyer's remorse, where you have bought something thinking that this is going to be a great idea, and it ended up being just absolutely terrible. If you want to avoid that, look for someone who owns what you're thinking about, or a range, and get a chance to shoot that first before you buy. And lastly, when it comes to these subcompact, pocket-sized mouse guns, whatever term you would like to use, something that falls into that category of the size of a Glock 43, practice is essential. The the techniques that are necessary to shoot a small pistol accurately, it takes a great deal of discipline, a great deal of practice. It's much more difficult than shooting the full-size 1911. You have that big gun and all that weight to absorb much of that recoil. And with that Glock 43 that weighs almost nothing, last time I shot, I realized I need to practice more often, because it took me a good 2-3 magazines before I realized that I didn't have my grip right. You got to grip those tight to prevent that muzzle flip from affecting your accuracy. So find something that fits your hands. Find something that's safe but reliable. For me personally, my preference, no manual safety controls that you have to fuss with, because in the stress of the moment, you don't want to forget dropping that safety. And lastly, practice, practice, practice. Well, that's been my experience, and that's my advice. You're free to take that for what it's worth, which you paid nothing for it, so don't ask for any refunds. Anyway, that's it for this time. God's blessings to you, and we'll talk to you next time.
John Bennett is the pastor at St. John's Lutheran Church in Willow Creek, Minnesota. For more information, visit stjohnswillowcreek.org. For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback, or a review on iTunes, and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio, a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.